Today, we are talking motivated sellers, and we're going to focus in on one particular niche or target audience and show everyone a few different ways that you can build those audiences, build lists, targeted buckets of motivated sellers so you can work smarter, not simply work harder. We have a special guest coming from one of my favorite and most recommended resources. And if he's not here yet, I'm sure he will be with us shortly. Before we get started or dive in, I want to give a little roadmap of what we're going to cover. Number one, the audience bucket and why we're focusing on that audience. Number two, actually using PropStream, which is letting the cat out of the bag. That's what we're going to be talking about. And we've got special guest Burton from PropStream to build those targeted audiences and lists of motivated sellers so that you can get some more listings this winter and spring and summer. Then I want to actually spend some time on digging into how you can market to these lists, these audiences, to actually create conversations and opportunities. I'm going to make you a co-host, Burton. I want to cover the gambit for everybody. So we're not just showing you how you can do some of this stuff, but actually what to do as well. So a couple of housekeeping items. For those of you, most of you know who I am, but for those of you who we might be meeting each other for the first time, my name is Josh Schoenly, dual licensed real estate agent with eXp Realty and loan originator with Nexa Mortgage. And the audience that we're going to really focus on today around this motivated seller bucket is baby boomers, potentially downsizing baby boomers that they've probably got some equity and they're, for any number of reasons, thinking about downsizing or even right sizing. And I saw many of you already nodding your heads, right? But if you need some proof as to why, you might want to focus more time, energy, and effort on this audience bucket. This is directly out of the 2024 NAR home buyers and sellers generational trends. And you can see younger boomers, older boomers, and silent generation make up about 50% of sellers, and not quite as much on the buyer side, but it's a significant amount of the transactions happening in virtually every market. And approximately 10,000 Americans turn 60 every day. So this is not just a great audience for 2025. This is a great audience or niche for you to be positioning yourself to service for 2025 through 2030 and beyond. Does that mean you should never help first-time home buyers or the Gen Y, Gen Xers, et cetera? No, but if we're investing time, energy, and efforts to proactively market to an audience, this is one that I think it makes a lot of sense. And this is also, I'll call it like part two or a follow-up to this video that I had published on the YouTube channel, I think on Friday, which was highlighting some easy, fast, and very cheap, free and low-cost ways for you to start building a pipeline and a database of these baby boomers. And the approach in there is going more on the buyer side, or like leading with what they might be looking to downsize into or right size into. Whereas today we're going to focus more on their existing property and what we can do to connect with them from a listing perspective. So you can check that out. If you missed that, I'll also link it to this after the fact for those that are interested. And all of the resources that we mention here today and that we've been sharing on these masterminds, we are cataloging all of that in a new school community, school spelled SKOL. And you can join the free community, free forever, and check out under the Classrooms tab, replays, which you can see the replays on the YouTube channel or in the Facebook group, which many of you are watching that live stream right now. But what I'm trying to do with the replays in the classroom is all of the resources and things that were referenced. For example, last week we talked about short form video content, and in the replay, I directly linked a bunch of examples of my short form video content for those 7 different buckets for whatever that is worth. That was a long intro, and I want to now transition into how we might use PropStream to build a list of motivated sellers under this baby boomer umbrella. So Burton, where are you, Burton? Let's see.
Can you see me?
Yeah, I need to, I need to highlight you, but I don't see you. 1 second. There you are. Okay, hold on. Add spotlight. There we go. So we've got Burton, who is a repeat guest on these masterminds. We've had the pleasure of having Burton probably 3 or 4 times since the fall. And I specifically wanted to bring Burton back to talk about this niche audience and also some of the updates and upgrades, because PropStream continues to improve the platform. We talked in, I think, December about the PropStream intelligence and how they're using AI, and that'll probably be woven into today's topic as well. Burton's going to show us how we can build these lists, and then, like I said, we'll actually get into what you can do with these lists once you have them. And I'll also, so I don't forget this later, we did a deep dive with Shay McGee in Utah in January, and he shared how he's taking the data that Burton's going to show you how to go and find in your market to build a pipeline of sellers. So that'll be a great one to go back and review for those that might be interested as well. Burton, I think you should be able to share your screen whenever.
Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Burton. Just a little quick history of me and the company. PropStream's been around since 2006. Our main objective is to go get that data for you. As most of you guys know, data is not so neat and pretty looking. That's our job, is to go get all that data that's scattered, bring it all together, and then let you guys manipulate that data or research that data. I joined the team in 2013. So for the last 12 years, I've been helping real estate professionals like you guys source leads, buyers, comp a property, understand our data. And I also do a lot of training and so forth. In 2021, we were acquired by Stewart Title. Some of you guys probably work with them, but they really loved what we were doing with our data. They decided to take it over and utilize it at the max degree. So lots of new innovations are going to keep coming because of this acquisition. So just keep your eye out for that. So that's a little history of us and me. Let's now jump into PropStream.
You're sharing that, Burton. I meant to mention this, but I was getting so long-winded, I kept it short. And I'm going to mention this several times. I have worked out a pretty cool little bonus deal with PropStream for those of you that are already using it, or for those of you that haven't tried it. Either way, we're going to take great care of you. You can get a free trial at growwithjosh.com/PS when you sign up, or if you're an existing user. Make sure you email me, and I'm able to get you $25 in marketing credits that you can use to skip trace, for example, and get more robust data or append data to these targeted audiences that we're going to show you how to build. It's $25 free, right? So you might as well give that a whirl. Just reach out to me and we'll get those $25 in marketing credits added to your account, but you have to have an account. Either go sign up for a free trial, or if you have one, or maybe you had an account and your subscription isn't active, one way or another, we can take great care of you as far as that goes.
It looks like they want your email there, Josh. But so what you guys are seeing is just a quick outline of what our product can do. Now, our main focus is going to be about lead generation with our data. But for those that are, again, fairly new to PropStream, or you haven't really grasped its totality yet, here's what we do and what we do best. It's $97 a month with the link that Josh is going to give you guys. And again, please email him. You could also call customer support if you forget. Just let us know you attended this webinar today. We'll make sure you guys get those credits to use. And again, you could use it for our marketing, skip tracing, and a lot of other stuff. But for that $97 a month, what is it that we do? Analyzing a property. So you can type in an address or click on a parcel. We'll give you property details, demographics, like how many renters and owners are in the area, mortgage info. We'll show you if there's other properties the owner has under their portfolio. You could run comps using our public data or our nationwide MLS data. So if you're looking to run a rental comp or try to get a fix and flip comp, you can utilize our MLS data for that.
On that
Credits
real
come into
quick,
play.
Burden, there's a great self-proclaimed great. I recently shot a video that was inspired by another EXP agent in my organization here locally. He needed some help with comping properties. He had a client that had two properties that he wanted to list with Ajit. And so I showed him some free resources with our local MLS, but then I recorded myself comping and even building out a CMA using PropStream. Again, since I'm referencing it, if you're watching it after the fact, I'll link it up with the YouTube video. But if not, you can go and find that on my YouTube channel. It's just how to quickly comp and even build CMAs using PropStream or something like that. Super useful. Even if you only use PropStream for that, incredibly useful.
And with that, not only can you comp using our public or MLS data, because again, we've been collecting a lot of data throughout the nearly 2 decades. You can also purchase documents through our platform, such as deeds, pre-foreclosure documents, or even the assessor's map if you needed. We also included rehab calculators. So if you're trying to add an ADU or you're trying to renovate the kitchen, we can give you local level costs using our calculators. So that's one aspect of our product. You can type in an address or click on a parcel. And when you view the details, these are the type of information that you're going to see. Now, the other piece of that is all that data can be manipulated. So that's the second part of our application, and that's our lead generation. Now, there's three parts to it. You probably don't need to use all three parts, but they're there in case you need it. And this is where the credits also are going to come into play.
Yep.
So part one would be to build your lists. That's pretty self-explanatory, right? You search, you filter, you could save your lists. Now, if you're just here for the addresses and that's it, you don't need anything else. You don't need to market or anything because you already have that elsewhere. You're a part one user. You're going to search, filter, save your addresses, and export that out of PropStream. And now you can take that Excel sheet anywhere you'd like to go. It is an in-app purchase, but that's our skip tracing. That's going to give you the ability to get a phone number, a landline, or an email. So I can build a list of senior owners, for example, and just get their address and mailing address, or for 12 cents an address, that's the cost for skip tracing, 12 cents an address. I can get the mobile number, the landline, as well as the email or whatever number or emails available. In the event we don't get anything, because that could happen, we're not going to charge it the 12 cents. If you skip trace a senior owner, nothing comes back, take your 12 cents back, okay? So you could build a list and then skip trace it, and within a few minutes have those contact information and then export it out of PropStream. Fernando, the answer is yes to that. We, at no additional cost, will scrub the list against the litigators list and the DNC list. So when you get your results back, you'll see DNC next to the numbers that are flagged as DNC. However, forewarning, it's not live data. And this is something that I always have to explain to everybody. Someone could have called this morning and they could have put themselves on that list and you would not know, right? Because that list usually gets updated roughly about once every month. So just FYI there. I would say the reason I'm saying that is don't just go into every conversation trying to solicitate, right? Like just do your introductions, right? Just go for that. Okay. So just tread lightly, no matter whether it says DNC or doesn't DNC. It's just my point there. Marketing, that's part three. So I could build a list of senior owners, I could skip trace it, and then I could also go to the marketing section. It's called our campaign area. We can set you up with the website. So I could create a website that says, hey, are you looking to downgrade, or are you looking to move into your next dream home or your retirement home? Whatever that landing page wants to say, right? You get to control that. And then you can send postcards and emails directly for PropStream. And again, those are going to be the additional costs. So anytime you see a red asterisk, those are the additional costs. And that's where the $25 credits are going to come into play. We can help you get started with these two things. So now that you know a little
The
bit about
two,
PropStream,
just for my audience, the two that I utilize most often are the skip trace and the email for the postcard marketing for a whole number of reasons. I use and recommend thanks.io. I had someone sign up for a free trial yesterday morning and ask me for we have our top 5 best postcard templates. And so for those of you that, if you're interested in that, just either drop a comment or shoot me an email. I'll also add it to the resources with this for those that are planning to include direct mail as part of their marketing to this audience. You might as well not start from scratch. Take and run with what we already know to be working.
so when you first log in, this is what you guys are going to see. It's just a little PropStream update pop up. It changes periodically. Pretty much what it covers is just any new features, like our PropStream intelligence that we just launched, as Josh mentioned, towards the end of last year. Long story short, what we've done for the longest is buy data from all these repositories, First American Core Logic, and you can name them all. We buy all that data, then bring it into our server, and then let our users manipulate that data, either by searching an address and viewing the details, or to search a market and generate leads. PropStream Intelligence was introduced, and what that does now is we buy the data, it runs through PropStream Intelligence, and then it goes to our server, and then you guys get to have fun with that data. Now, while it's running through PropStream Intelligence, this new AI machine learning platform of ours, we've instructed it to do so far right now two things. Now, this is going to evolve. So we're going to keep adding more logic to the AI so you guys can do more unique things. But the two things that we're asking it to do right now is one, give us a grade on property photos. As we get this MLS data with photos, it could be an active listing, a sold listing, a failed listing. But when we get those photos, PropStream Intelligence is going to run through those photos and then give us a grade on that property. It's going to say, okay, hey, based on these photos, the total grade is in disrepair, or it was fix and flip last week, so luxury, or anything in between. And it also breaks down the interior, the exterior, the kitchen, and the bathroom. I'll show you guys what it looks like in a few moments. But that's the first thing we told PropStream Intelligence to do. Go through the millions of MLS data listings that we have and analyze those photos. So now when you search a property that has been analyzed, you're going to see the grade, and you could also filter by it too. And we're going to talk about that in a few moments. The second thing we've asked it to do is to run through our pre-foreclosure data. So when you search a market, obviously every market has had its pre-foreclosures and foreclosures. So our AI is looking through that data and looking for indicators. That's probably the best word to use. It's looking not for behaviors, but indicators, right? Sometimes there's commonalities between pre-foreclosures and foreclosures. It could be like a high rate. It could be income level of the owner. It could be many different variables. But sometimes these variables could be very similar to the next. And so our AI is looking at the foreclosure data for indicators and then taking those indicators and running across every address in that market to then give you what we call a foreclosure factor. So it could tell you the percentage of a homeowner heading towards foreclosure. Now, it's not guaranteeing it, because a real estate professional like you can swoop in and save the day, give them a cash offer, or help them list their property, right? So it's just giving you, hey, based on the data and the things that are happening to this parcel, we believe this property is at 78% of a foreclosure. So just giving you an idea of what that looks like. And then we also
And
have free resources. Oh, go ahead,
and
Josh.
Burton, that foreclosure, I just want to point out for those that are, if you're interested in, that was the main audience that Shay and I were talking about, and that Shay has been using in the session that I mentioned from January, where we had Shay on as a guest, and how he's building. Now, we did touch on the audience we're going to talk about today: senior owners, baby boomer downsizers, but that was the primary audience, and he was using this updated foreclosure factor. He had been using the pre-foreclosure, what's that? The quick list,
Quick left.
but the foreclosure factor, once that went live, he switched to using that. And so
That's
yeah,
good stuff.
for anyone interested in that, go check that one out after this.
And then usually the last two things that you'll see in the pop-up is just like any updates to our platform, like we updated the UI and then our free resources. In the event you want to learn more, we have a free online academy. We do live webinars every day at 3 p.m. If you can't make it, the recordings are on the academy as well. And by the way, the academy is free. So if you haven't signed up yet, you just want to learn first, you can take that route first. Okay, so when you close out of that pop-up, PropStream's nationwide. So we don't region lock you. You don't have to buy a license. And what I mean by nationwide is I can zoom in to Nebraska right now, or like Columbus. I've never heard of this place. But I can go into Columbus right now and zoom in, and then parcels will appear, and then I can click on a parcel, and then I can pull up the property information, or I can just type in an address. So I can go to an address in Birmingham, Alabama. I knew this is happening. I'm lagging because I'm going either fast, or the weather today in LA is not too good. So this is our platform. You can, again, search an address or pull up an individual parcel. I'm just waiting for this property to pull up. The other thing that we can do is we can search a market and then pull up a list of properties, which I'm probably going to kill this search right now. And then we're going to just go into lead gen, because that's the main focus today. Let me do that. Let me kill that search. Let me refresh it. Does anybody want to help me out? Can someone put in like their city or maybe a county in the chat? I'd like to see if we can use your market in today's demonstration.
Don't be bashful. Denver County
Denver
was
or
the
something like
first
that.
one. Yeah, I think it was Denver County was first on the list.
Let me from the beginning again. I think I locked it up. Kill that. We got Hamilton County. I'm gonna go from top and then I'll do some in between a little bit. And hang on a second here, guys.
And for those that a couple of folks were asking about the PropStream Academy, if you go to propstream.com, just the main site, in the tab, there's Academy, or you can go to propstream.com/propstream dash academy, and you can check that all
Give
out
me just a second,
there.
guys. I think I just locked myself. Hold on. I gotta do this weird thing. I think my cookies am on PropStream so many times. So source code. There we go. It's hard to reset that thing.
We have
Cool.
quite
I
the
think all of them.
eclectic group here. We have Denver County, Las Vegas, St. Augustine, Greenbrier, Arkansas, Davis County, Utah, Hunterton County. I think that would be New Jersey, San Joaquin, Isabel, in Hamilton County, Ohio, Westchester County, New York.
I
Fernando
think
asks,
I
how would a
might
lender use this tool? Fernando, that's
We
probably,
a great
especially,
question, Fernando.
yeah,
So Fernando, answer that question. We source mortgage data. So what I can do as a lender is I can type in, let's say, a market. So first off, I would ask you, what type of lender are you? Like, what is your product? So let's say you tell me I specialize in reverse mortgages. So then I would say, then you can go in our platform and we have a category called senior owners, which shows you anybody with 25 years of ownership, reverse mortgages, or a senior citizen tax status. And then what you can do is say, hey, I'm looking for a senior owner, which is going to be one of the topics that we're going to talk about, but that doesn't have a reverse mortgage yet. So maybe he has a VA or a FHA. And then you can add high equity to that search. So senior owner with not a reverse mortgage, but with a lot of equity. And that would be those addresses that you would reach out to and offer that. Okay, so I had to use my backdoor account. Let's go to Denver County. That was the first one mentioned. So Denver County. This is
and
what
a lot of data, my guess, because I think that
there's
very,
some stuff here
holy
that we
smokes.
probably shouldn't be showing because of the backdoor account, but as you can see, I'm locked up in my first one. Okay, so the first thing you ever want to do is to pull up the market. As a matter of fact, if you have a phone or a notepad, write these things down really quick. Whenever you're doing a search, I just recommend just following these steps, okay? So there's two ways to search in PropStream. The first way is the traditional way. That's what we're going to do today. That starts with just picking a list. So start with picking a list. And then usually, I'll be honest with you, most of our users want off market. So that's why I put off market number 2. So if you want on market, you can do that. But I'll be honest with you, 98% of our users want off market records. So pick that list first, make sure it's off market. I'll show you how to do that. Third, I don't know what you know in terms of what experiences or exit strategies. So apply the level of equity you need for that exit strategy. So if you're just a fix and flipper, you need equity, right? If you do short sales or like creative seller financing stuff, you probably don't need equity. So I don't know what you know, but make sure you apply that equity to perform your strategy. And then last but not least, we have a lot of data in terms of like we have vacant land, apartment complexes, churches, schools, zoos. Heck, you could even click on the White House if you wanted to. Okay. So make sure you let us know the property and owner type that you're looking for. Now, the owner type is going to be taken care of as long as you pick that senior owners list. But let's say in the future you pick a pre-foreclosure list, then let me know. Do you want a corporate pre-foreclosure or an individual pre-foreclosure? Okay, so follow these 4 steps. Anything more after that is what we call list stacking. That's just adding your preferences. Okay, so that's the traditional search. And then we won't be going over this, but just to show you guys, here's another way you can search with PropStream, and that's building situations. Now, if you're going to do that, build your own list. Just make sure it's still off market, has the equity and the property and owner characteristics that you're looking for. And then create a situation. For example, how about a senior owner with a lot of properties? We have this filter called linked properties. Maybe they're looking to sell properties that now downsize, right? So there's tons of situations that you can create. But right now, let's focus on traditional search. So we go to Denver County, 250,000 records pop up. I don't want to go through them manually. So go into our search filter here at the top. And the first area that we're going to send you to is our lead list section. Here, we have a category specifically for this, and that's senior owners. Again, reverse mortgages, 25 years minimum ownership, or a senior citizen tax status. So picking this list, that's step one, picking a list. Step two, go to the, MLS status section. And the first question is on market. No, we don't want it on market. So go ahead and hit no. And now we've removed everything that's currently listed with a realtor. Okay. Third is the equity. That's found in the value and equity section. Now there's two filters for you. You can do the dollar amount filter. I would recommend that you use the percentage filter, because whether the house is 100,000 or $1 million, if you need 50%, we're going to find you 50%. So it'll be 50,000 for the 100,000 property, or a half a million or more for the $1 million property, right? So I would recommend using equity versus a dollar amount, unless, hey, I only need 10,000 or more and we can work with it. If that's the case, then you can use that dollar amount. But most of our users are the percentage filter users. So I would recommend taking that route. Okay. So pick your list. That's step one. Off market, step two. Step three, what's the equity to perform your exit strategy? Other notable filters here would be like estimated value, because we have so many different types of properties, $1 million properties, $50,000 properties. You can reduce your results by saying, I only need 100,000 to, let's say, 600,000. I don't know this market, so I could be gutting my list dramatically by putting 600,000. Okay, no, actually, that's not bad. All right, so lists, off market, equity, and then rental values or estimated values, they're all here. But then the final two things, or the final thing, would be the property details and owner information. So let's start with property details. What class are you looking for? We have residential. By selecting that, you can choose from residential types or multifamily types, apartments, triplexes, quadruplexes. Commercial, those would be like your bar, taverns, your hotels. You can do vacant land, but are you looking for government vacant land, residential vacant land, exempt vacant land? And then we also have others, would be like office spaces, industrial, agricultural. These are all the different classes. And that's my point of why you need to tell us what you want, because by default, it says all. We're going to give you everything. So if you don't want to send a postcard to everybody, make sure you tell us exactly what you need. I need that residential, single family property. And hey, you know what? Since it's a senior owner list, how do I ensure that maybe they need a downside? I can give you guys two additional filters. One would be look for big houses. So use the bedrooms to your advantage. Find me a senior owner in a minimum 4-bedroom property or more, right? Another example. So these are filters I would highlight in terms of finding that downsizer. Bedrooms is one. So put like a high minimum, 4 or more. Another option of downsizing would be building size. Find me a senior owner in a, I don't know, 3,000 minimum square footage property. Maybe walking from west to east side of the property, that's too much now. There are your 87 results left here on the right side. So you can search building, or I'm sorry, bedroom size, building size. And then the other one that's very popular when it comes to senior owners is our numbers of stories filter too. So I could say, okay, I want a senior owner. That's the list that we have right now, and they're in a minimum 2-story building or more. How about we use that for the filter? So again, these are the three I would say consider in your search. Maybe even making 3 separate searches, right? A senior owner with a minimum 4 bedrooms or more, that's off market with equity, so forth and so forth. A senior owner that has a huge building size, that's off market with equity, so forth and so forth. And then the start search, a senior owner in a minimum 2-story building, that's off market with equity, so forth and so forth. Okay. So just alone in this property detail section, there's many ways that you can consider looking for a senior owner that's in a big property or in a downside situation. Josh, I see your hand.
Yeah, two things I want to just highlight. I'm going to take 30 seconds here to do another commercial for PropStream and let everyone know that you can get $25 in marketing credits, which Burton's going to show you how you might use that in a minute here by going to growwithjosh.com/PS and then shoot me an email, josh@growwithjosh.com. The other thing I wanted to mention here, because there's so many uses for this, you really need to spend time and identify before you get started who it is, who's your ideal client avatar. For example, it was probably hard for you to see, but Burton at one point had chosen commercial properties and there was 107. Let's say you're a business broker or you're a commercial real estate agent. Senior owners that have a commercial property, it was a small list. It was like 107 or something like that. Nonetheless, an interesting target audience and just another example of how robust the data is and how you're really only limited by your creativity as far as who you're trying to connect with from a client avatar perspective, and then how to marry up the filters to find that perfect targeted list for you.
I'm just waiting for it to load those commercial buildings. But yeah, you're right. You could keep the
It was
filters the same.
107. I took note of
Oh,
it,
well,
was the number.
the last part I want to leave you guys off with is, again, owner information. So I gave you three options in terms of the property details part. Again, you want to make sure you let us know at least the class and property type. So in this example, I need residential, I need single family. But when it comes to the additional property details filters, that's where creativity comes into play. And again, there's three ways I gave you guys how you can create three separate downsizing lists. One, senior owners with many bedrooms, senior owners with a huge building size, and then senior owners that are in two-story buildings. Okay, so those are some avenues that you can take. The final thing that you want to do, again, if we go over that PowerPoint, is we want to make sure that we include the owner characteristics. Sometimes we forget that some of these properties could be under an LLC, it could be under a trust, it could be under an individual name. And so this section, owner information, that's where you want to tell us the type of owner that you're looking for. So I'm looking for an individual, corporate mix, or we even have the trust option. So in this case, let's say when I market to a list, I expect an individual to call me back. That's a reminder that you're building a list you're going to market to. So you actually get to control who's going to call you back. If you just want to speak to individuals, select individuals. And then another thing to note, and this is again where you can get a little bit more creative. This could be list number 4, for example. Earlier, I was talking about numbers of properties owned. So we have the ability to say, hey, I'm looking for an individual who has a minimum of 5 properties or more. And so in this area, you can apply any value.
I've found that especially when it's a big data set to begin with. In other words, Denver County was 50,000 properties. That's a big data set. And then when you start playing around with the filters, I found that sometimes it just gets confused and you just have to
No,
reset a
you are
little bit.
absolutely no. I'm just very. I don't know about you guys, but I'm very like adamant about it needs to be quick. So I appreciate you guys dealing with this with me, but trust me, I'm going to have a long-winded conversation with the devs right after.
The takeaway, though James put Denver County, the reality is that's probably because it's so densely populated, he would probably be better suited picking a city or zip code to start with. So he's got a manageable number of
I agree
records
with
and he
that.
can go deeper with that smaller data set versus going super wide and maybe very shallow with a larger data set.
I agree 100% with that. I think I would look at it as how far are you willing to go, right? What's your jurisdiction? I think that's a really good way. Okay, now I'm going to have to go back to my original. I think I froze out my backdoor one. Let's go. That's the problem. So hold on one second, guys. Let me backdoor this. All right. Josh, let me cut my screen because I don't want us to just have a bad
Go ahead.
screen. Let me put in the chat because I get this frequently. I'm going to put the PowerPoints that I'm sharing with you guys in the chat just so you guys
Perfect.
can have it as a template. But here you go. Does anybody have any questions on the search features or any questions regarding the data, any of that stuff? All right.
I'm actually going to throw in another bonus for those that are interested. If you currently have an active account with PropStream, or you go and get your trial, or you've had an account and you want to react, whatever the case may be, not only can you get the $25 in marketing credits if you reach out, but if you would like to, I would be more than happy to jump on a Zoom with you and brainstorm how you might use the platform to find your ideal client avatar. And it might be senior owner, baby boomer, downsizers, or it might be others, but we can brainstorm together. Or if you'd prefer, you give me an idea, hey, this is my target market, how would you break it down? And I'll record myself going through those. I've done these searches and filters many times, both live here, but also like for my own business as well. And so I've got a lot of experience with doing that, and having a different perspective might be helpful for those who are interested. And if that is something you're interested in, just email me, josh@growwithjosh.com, josh@growwithjosh.com. I'll make sure the email is in the chat and in the comments as well for those if you miss it or have it misspelled or something along those lines.
Josh and everybody, I honestly want to apologize. I'm in my Slack channel right now with my dev team, and it looks like the system just went down. So the slowingness was actually due to some things that are happening on the back end. We're trying to get
Which
it up and running.
stuff happens.
No, absolutely. But I think that we always like to put our best foot forward. And that's me being honest, because I think just showing you guys the power of pulling certain data is important to me personally. I don't care about whether you use our product or not. I just think teaching you guys how to find these leads is very important personally, because these are homeowners that need your help.
And
So if
here's what
any
we're gonna say that it's because so many people watching this
of
are trying to sign up. We're crashing the system.
I'd be happy to say that was the case. But no, I
So
would say if anything, take advantage of the PowerPoints that I just placed in the chat. You could download it. Really follow the types of searches guideline. And the reason I wanted to emphasize that today in our presentation is because a lot of time and money can be wasted if you don't tell us the type of property that you're looking for, the type of owner that you're looking for. I see it all the time. We'll get customers that call in and say, hey, I just spent all of my saved resources or my saved leads on a list, and I didn't need the office spaces. I didn't need the industrial building. So just make sure that you tell us exactly what type of property and owner type you need at minimum, because
yeah,
that will at least gut your list by, I would say, 60%, because we are a nationwide every type of property type out. That's where it can get really messy for you guys. Okay. And then I see
we
some
do have a
questions
couple of
here.
great there was a couple of great questions, and
Yes.
then I'm also going to make good on the promise that I made at the beginning, which is give you a framework or how
Better
you
yet, you know
might
what,
then
guys?
take your list and market to them.
Embarrassing. I'm gonna actually up that to $50. So I'm gonna get
Oh,
with my
oh, look at that.
team and I'm gonna double your $25 credit. I'm gonna make sure it's $50
Look at
because
that.
I'm sure you guys wanted to see all this cool stuff. And so I'm gonna
Yeah.
put myself on the limb. And so make sure you guys email Josh. Josh put his email in
Yep.
the chat. Make sure you email him. That way we can add that $50 credit to your account. Okay. And then what I'm gonna do, and that's only gonna apply to everybody here. So don't be trying to pass that around to your friends. So let me do this. Fernando, the answer to your question about divorce data, we definitely have it. In the chat right now is a link that shows you all of the lead types that we have, and it actually gives you the definition of them. Fernando, divorce data, we absolutely do have, and you could filter for it, and you could filter for like the recording date as well. Natasha, great question. Probate data, we do not have. We don't collect nationwide probate data, but we have this list called pre-probate. I don't know if it could be of value to you, but we don't have probate records. What we do have is the ability to identify a deceased owner on a title of a property. So you can go to our pre-probate list. It's going to show you all the deceased owners on a title. The catch is, the caveat is, we don't know if any of them are currently in probate. So let's say you get 10 results. Two of them could be going through probate right now, and we don't know, right? So just understand that as you reach out to these pre-probate leads, they could, again, be in the process, or maybe they're not. So that's, I think, where additional research or the reach out might be of value to you. Okay. Does it show divorce data is recent? Deceased owner data. So Clay, with the deceased, the divorce data, yeah, you can filter by the recording date, not the deceased owner, Clay. We can't do that because it's illegal for us to display the day of the death or the recording date. So you're not able to filter by day of death or recording date in terms of our deceased owners. Really good question. We get that question quite often, but it's not something that we can do.
One thing I'll note on the divorce data, and this actually applies just generally, PropStream's data is only as good as what is available. And what I mean by that is, for example, I live in Cumberland County, Pennsylvania, central PA. It's a rural county. I was laughing in part because when Burton pulled up Denver County, and there were 250,000 properties, there aren't 250,000 human beings that live in Cumberland County. So there's far fewer properties. But the data for certain quick lists or even certain of the types of properties that was in the lead list definition link that Burton dropped, if it's not readily available, like you won't have access. So it's not a PropStream thing. It's just that, for example, if I try to search for divorce data in Cumberland County, there's next to none. And it's not that there are no divorces in Cumberland County. I'm sure there are plenty happening, but the way they report it is either outdated or just not readily available. So
That's a very good bring up. So yeah, some data is really hard to obtain depending on the municipal or the county. And then
yeah.
also we get this question all the time because I saw someone do it. I'm like, that's not going to work. They were looking for like divorce data with our industrial category. And I'm like, we don't collect divorce data on industrial properties. That's not something that you can do. So for example, if you do like senior owner government buildings, you're probably going to get no results because that's not a data set that we collect when we pull government building info. As a matter of fact, I think
Mhm.
our source that gives us government info doesn't even have those categories. Some categories may be stronger and weaker in markets. I guess the rule of thumb to that, and that's a great bring up there, Josh. The rule of thumb with data and just in general is these counties that we mainly get our data from are all powered by the taxes from the county, right? So the more population, the more higher the value the properties are, more taxes are collected. That taxes are then given to the county offices, and that's what
Mhm.
increases their technology. So if you're in a rural area, data can either be very delayed or sometimes we just don't collect it because the demand is not there. So you'll see data much stronger in areas like that just have a higher population. That's just because, again, more taxes are collected. The technology at the county is much faster or better for us to collect much more efficiently. So just an FYI there. But again, guys, I do apologize about the
So
experience
Burton,
today.
I'm able to pull up. At least it's working for me on some level. So I just
I
popped
think
in my one of my target zip codes, and you can see here there are unique properties, 16,746. And if I walk through Burton's logic from earlier, if I start with senior owners, and then I don't want them to be on the MLS, I want off-market properties, and I want them to be individually owned. I don't want corporate properties. And let's say I want them to be property details. I want it to be a 2-story. I want it to be residential, single family, 2-story. And that gets me 649 properties. Now I forgot equity. So let's make sure we've got some equity. So I'm going to say at least 50% equity. So I've got 566. Now, what might I do with these 566? And I'll say even I went quickly there because I want to talk about the marketing side of things, and I like to keep these to 60 minutes or less. If I were to run with this audience, I would actually want to narrow it down even more because you will have more success if you start with a smaller audience and go deep with that audience than just trying to shotgun approach and have this theoretically targeted list, but that you can't create enough marketing touch points to make it relevant to the audience. But regardless, I want to show what you can do from this. So we've got 566. I can select all and add to a list. So I'm going to create a new list and I'm going to call this is 17050 senior owners 2-story 50% equity. And I'm not going to put the percent sign because sometimes that gets wonky when you do that. So now I've
do me a
saved
favor.
that list. Go
Sorry,
ahead,
Josh,
Bert.
don't
Sorry.
interrupt. I
Yeah,
didn't mean
yeah.
to interrupt. Whatever you do, just don't log out because I think if you log out, it's going to lock you out. So
Oh,
they're trying to get me back in, but you're good.
gotcha.
So keep going.
Gotcha. So right now I have a list of 566 properties where I have the property address and the owner information, but I don't have emails. I don't have phone numbers. I could take this list and use, for example, thanks.io. You can grab a free account at growwithjosh.com/thanks, and you can get some free marketing credits when you sign up there as well. And if you do, let me know so I can get you our best performing direct mail pieces. But I could use simply just direct mail. right? And there are people that are doing that and having success. But if you want to have a multimedia approach, if you want to be able to email, and if they're not on the do not call list, if you want to be able to text and email them and even follow some of the best practices that Shay mentioned a month ago when he was on this mastermind, talking about how he's building a pipeline specifically around high foreclosure factor. The next step in the process would be to skip trace this audience. So on the left-hand side, and this is also what you can use those marketing credits that you'll get when you email me. You go on the left-hand side here. We go skip trace. We go select contacts. We have to find the list that we just saved. You can see I have a whole bunch in here because I actually use this thing and I use it frequently. Oh boy, where is my, there it is. There it is, 566. And then I've got to add the selected contacts, and then I've got to select them again and click done. So now you can see it says 566. If I hit next for $67.32, and you can see it already whittled this list down. So there must be, I must not have chosen owner occupied because there are 5 duplicate owners on here. Okay, because we had 566.
So that's a great bring up there. So that's either duplicates or because we'll double check your previous orders as well. So there could have been an address here that's also on another list that you skip trace. And so what we're going to do is not charge you for that address. As a matter of fact, what we're going to do is our system will take the result that you got from that other list and merge it into this list. So you'll see all the results, even though those 5 addresses, again, either were duplicates, we didn't have enough information, or again, you've already appended it from a previous order.
So I'm not going to hit place order here because I'm not ready to roll with this audience. And like I said, it's actually bigger than what I would want to utilize. In when we had Shay on, I think his best practice was like he was working with no more than 25 to 50 per day of these prospecting lists.
Just too much.
Yeah, totally. And you can't get any traction. So I'm not going to do that. But if you did, number one, you'll only pay when it is successful in appending data. In other words, I won't actually pay $67.32. It'll probably be like $60 or something like that, because it won't be able in every case to append data. But once it does, and I'm going to just show this very briefly because if I show it for too long, YouTube will flag this because it's theoretically private information. But you'll get appended data, and you'll see real quick here, there are phone numbers with DNCs and there are emails. Now I'm going to exit that real quick, right? So now you've got more data. You've got more data that you can roll with. And again, you can go check out the session we did with Shay, and he'll walk you through exactly what to do. But here, just big picture, this is what I would do with this audience. Number one, I would send them direct mail. There are fewer people sending direct mail. And so you will stand out in the inbox if you send them direct mail. And you don't have to guess with what to send because I'll share what's working as far as that goes. Now, there is a cost to that, right? So maybe you don't want to start there, right? Maybe you want to start with email and text and phone numbers. So 2 things that I would do with them. Number one, all of these people own a property. All of these people are probably curious about the value of their property and what properties around them, whether it's their neighborhood or surrounding area, what they're being listed for and what they're selling for. So you can set up in whatever platform you're using, KB Core, Follow Up Boss, Sierra Interactive, or directly in your MLS, you can set those folks up to be notified of that information. Okay? That it is relevant to them, everybody, even if they're not thinking about selling. We're all curious. Hey, what Bob's list his house for down the road, right? And this audience in particular, they might not know how to find that information on Zillow or Realtor.com or Homes.com. They might, but they might not, right? So that's valuable and interesting information. And the other thing that I would do with this audience, we're going to have another session on this very soon, is I would start sending them a deal of the week, specifically on the type of property that they would want to be downsizing into. So I sent my deal of the week this morning. It was my Central 55 Plus Community Deal of the Week, and I sent it to the people in my KV Core that are hashtagged something downside. I've generated a bunch of downsize leads, etc., following what is in the video that I mentioned at the beginning, which was one that we released on Friday with fast and cheap ways to start building a pipeline of baby boomers looking to downsize, right? And so I send that out to them, and a certain number of them are going to be curious and want more details about that property. And I'm hitting them with the carrot and the stick. And here's what I mean by that. I've used this analogy before on workshops that we've done around working with, attracting and working with baby boomers. The reality is the house that they're going to move into, the maintenance free home in a community with a great, maybe they've got a pool or a community center, etc. That's what they're more likely to be excited about. The stick is they've got to sell this current house, right? Because nobody wakes up in the morning like excited about selling the house they're living in, especially if they've been living in that house for a very long time, right? So we want to take that two-pronged approach with this audience. And again, smaller bucket or list that you can go deeper with is going to yield you more and better results over time. So with that said, any other questions or things that maybe we can double back on, dig a little deeper on? One thing that this was a question in the chat, but I do want to highlight this as well because other people may be wondering. One of the quick lists in PropStream is zombie properties. And you can see in the definition list what that means. But for those that might be curious, it is pre-foreclosures that are vacant, meaning that they're not answering their mail. Okay. That is a
Oh,
wonderful example of a combination of filters. Burton, you were going to say something there.
yeah, actually, on that note with vacant, because this is a very common mistake that a lot of people get. I'm all about making sure you guys don't waste time and money and get to the owners that really need your help. For those that are interested in vacant just by itself, just make sure you add years of ownership to your search. As Josh mentioned, vacant just means they're not answering their mail. And a common thing that happens if you don't put years of ownership in your search is you might get a recently sold property because owner A sold it to owner B, but
Mm.
owner A hasn't changed their mail yet or their address, right? Or forwarded it. And this is something that you'll see quite often. As a matter of fact, you could test it out right now. If you search your market and just select vacant and just not do anything else, and you'll notice that on your results, you might see like a last sell date, January of 2025 or December of 2024. So be very conscious about that category. As a matter of fact, I always say this rule of thumb, no matter what you're searching, always consider adding years of ownership because that can change the story. Like with vacant, it could change the story from recently sold to no, I want someone who's been there for 15 years at least, and they're not answering their mail. See how that completely changes the story? I always say just add years of ownership because it dramatically changes the story. Sometimes we'll get people that are like, I want a failed listing, and they don't put years of ownership. Guess what? What do real estate professionals like you guys do to a failed listing? You buy it privately. So same category where if you pull failed listings and don't add years of ownership, you might see a failed listing from January that was bought this month by a cash buyer. So always add years of ownership. It changes the story, but it also saves you that time and money. Okay. So Josh, that's it for me.
So,
Again, thank you guys so much for the
hey, Burton, I'm sorry.
oh,
Can I
go for it.
twist your arm just for one thing? So I want to double tap on something Burton was mentioning there because a lot of people, when we talk about PropStream and when I create content about PropStream, I get a lot of people asking, "Can you build or pull expired listings?" And you can, okay.
Yeah.
And if you're curious, reach out to me. I have several videos on how you can do that in there. That's an example of making sure that you include that years of ownership as a insurance against getting properties that were resold or relisted, things of that nature. So that's always a great rule of thumb. And we should do a full session on this, but Burton, in maybe 60 seconds or 120 seconds, Shay asked, can you go over List Automator and what
Yeah, I
that
sure
is within the
can.
platform?
And so we're back up, so I can definitely do that. So as you guys saw a few moments ago, I gave you guys the steps to pull a list and save it. Josh showed you how to save it. Josh also showed you where we store it, right? We store it in the My Properties page. List Automator is a feature that took us 2 years to develop. So long story short, when you build a marketing list, we're never going to add to it, right? It's static. So this Charlotte vacant list of 50 properties, it's going to stay 50 properties no matter what. I'm not going to wake up tomorrow and the data fairy is going to add more records to it. However, we created the data fairy called List Automator. It's a $27 add-on, and what that allows me to do is to take any marketing lists and automate that list. So if I select this button, here's what I can do. When a new property that matches my exact criteria populates in PropStream's database today, tomorrow, whenever, instead of ignoring it, I can now change it to add it to this list or add it to another list on my marketing or my properties, or I'll do it myself. That's actually the most favorite one because it separates the new records in a green box. It doesn't add it to your list, but you get to review that green box and then either ignore them or add them or move them somewhere else. So popular selection is I'll do it myself. And then you could set email notifications. So you build a list once, automate it, and you never have to search it again. We'll search it every day for you. And when a new record comes in, you tell us what to do with it, and we'll email you when that happens. But then here's the other part to it. This is actually, for me, the most important part of List Automator, right? Because knowing about the new records is important. That saves you time, especially if you have like 7 different lists. You can automate all 7 of them. But to me, the most important part about List Automator is that when properties change from your criteria, so you might have a list of 1,500 properties. What happens when 30 of them go on market and you said off market? This is the opposite automation. When a property changes from your criteria, instead of ignoring it and leaving it in your list, we can remove it from your list, move it into another list on your My Properties. So again, we're now segregating all the old leads into a new list, or I'll do it myself. So this time you get a red box. So we're not moving them out of your list. We're just taking the ones that are no longer meeting your criteria, putting them in a duplicate red box, and then you can do whatever you'd like to do with it. So if you automate, it goes in our VIP section right over here. Then when you click on your list, like my Fort Mill list here, it says, hey, you have 154 today. Oh, but you got to add these 2 that we just identified in our database that you haven't added to your list. Meanwhile, out of your 146, 6 of them need to be removed because 3 of them are now on market or actually just sold. One of them is negative equity, so forth and so forth. So for me, the green box means I just save time. I don't have to save it or run the search because it just did this search for me here. And then the red means just remove these properties. They no longer meet that criteria. So that's List Automate. I know it took more than 60 seconds, but it does the automation. And the main objective is to save you time by doing the search on your behalf and money by scrubbing your list every day to let you know what's no longer fitting your criteria.
Not only money, but also maybe saving you some time and energy too, so that you're not trying to chase people that already have a working relationship with another real estate agent or
Yeah.
realtor in
And
your market.
to clarify on the pricing, it's an additional feature. So the base price of PropStream, again, is $97 a month. If you want List Automator, it's an additional $27 a month. But we do give you a 2-week trial period. So if you want to sample it for 2 weeks, maybe automate a list today and see how it works over the next 14 days, you can. But that's the main objective of it, is to just run those searches on your behalf and clean up your data every day.
This was phenomenal. I know we had some hurdles there, but this was
It's a benefit for everybody. They got an extra $25 in credit. So I'm going to get with my
and
team, let them
transparency, right?
know. Everyone
You know,
enjoy those.
yeah.
Credits.
So Burton, as always, thank you. We got some incredibly positive feedback, including Leonora that says, thank you. This training is awesome. Can I get a copy of this training to review? So I'm just going to take a minute here at the end to show people who may be curious where they can find a number of the resources that I had mentioned. Number one, all of these sessions and additional content that I record when I have someone in my organization ask or someone in our group ask, how would you do this? All of that is at Josh Schoenly Coaching on YouTube. And you can see here, this one is the one I was referencing a few times that we had Shay on about a month ago. It was sometime in January. I had mentioned last week's session, which you can find right here, and the fact that this is like part 2 to this training that I recorded last week on fast, easy, and cheap ways to find baby boomers and start building a pipeline of those. You can also join our free school community, and in there are additional resources. Sometimes there's a Google Doc or an additional training or SOP that maybe isn't on the YouTube channel. You can check that out there as well. One last time, check out and grab a free trial of PropStream at growwithjosh.com/PS. Growwithjosh.com/PS. Shoot me an email, josh@growwithjosh.com, so I can get your free marketing credits. And if you are interested, we can schedule a 15-minute Zoom call and brainstorm specifically your client avatar in your market, how you might build out the list. And then we can even explore how you might use the list automator, which I love the idea that if you're getting a daily email, that's like a reminder, hey, I should market to these people. So it's a built-in sort of accountability partner to grow your pipeline of business, whoever that client avatar might be. We had incredible participation and attendance, so I thank you all for spending some time with us today as well. And I'll finish with some of the upcoming topics, right? I don't know what we're covering specifically next week, but just some of the upcoming topics, updates and upgrades to iList, including an incredible new feature that actually pairs really well with today's topic and how you can market to these lists. Number two, I have some Google pay-per-click ads right now that are absolutely crushing it. Again, attracting people in this same client avatar bucket or target audience bucket of these baby boomers who may be looking to or thinking about downsizing or right sizing. And I'm going to show you how we're doing that. I've got the help of Ryan with that and Mike as well. And then I want to have another session on the deal of the week strategy, because the more and more I refine that, the more and more I am finding that to be the absolute best way to convert leads. Of however you're getting your leads and your data, it is just, it continues to work better and better as I hone in and improve that process. So that's what you can look forward to as some of the upcoming sessions. As always, you can join us live in the Zoom room for the sessions every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Eastern. You can register at wakeup.realestate/M or just email me, josh@growwithjosh.com. Thank you all for spending some time here, and I look forward to hopefully seeing you next week on the Mastermind as well.